What's up, Cowboy Nation? On a lazy day on the couch, chilling out, thinking about these Cowboys, and thinking about just the different scenarios and things like that. Um, Today I just want to talk about my take on the Osa trade and how uh, player evaluation is misinterpreted nowadays. Um, I see a lot of Cowboys fans that have mixed emotions about trading Osa. When, if you really think about it, when you really just put it in perspective, Osa was an okay player, but he wasn't a needle mover, in my opinion, to say, like, oh, we shouldn't trade this player. But when you really look at everything that is happening, there is definitely a change in the way that the Cowboys are doing business, in which for years, and I think it took a long time. It took a long time for Jerry to recognize that. But I think they're making a change toward understanding that Jerry needs to start letting these coaches coach, and he needs to stay on the back end about, just stay selling tickets. Don't worry about nothing that happens on the field. Just sell tickets. And that's been the biggest problem with the Cowboys in general, is that Jerry wants to have his hands on every little situation instead of just, letting the coaches coach, trusting that your general managers will go out there and get good players, and your coaches are gonna do what they need to do to win games and things like that. But he feels like his formula is the formula to win, when that formula hasn't worked in 30 years. So there's definitely a change in the way the Cowboys are doing business right now. There's a big change. So with that change, people, and you know what, to understand that just as human nature, it's hard for people uh to accept change sometimes. And this is exactly what's happening. We Cowboys Nation have mixed emotions, for the simple fact is that people just don't like change. Some people don't really care. Like me, I don't really care, because I don't feel like Osa was somebody that you needed to change. In my opinion, the only time that you need to trade players is if, in fact, that they're not helping the team. If they're not helping the team, and they have some value, and you can get rid of them, then trade them. Or if they are a problem for the team, outside of team business, or if they're a problem, there's the only time you should not be trading players, especially if they're helping. So Osa getting traded was not because he's not a good, that not because he's a bad player, but because he didn't fit the scheme that Christian Parker is trying to bring into Dallas. And for the record, you know what I'm saying? And even with that being said, he wasn't a needle mover. And what I mean by the evaluation of talent, I am the first person. I'm gonna tell you, I love ESPN. I do. I love ESPN. I've loved ESPN ever it came enacted. But the one problem that I feel like that's happening with ESPN and uh, social media in general is ESPN is a show of highlights. Okay, it's a show of highlights. So therefore, because it's a show of highlights, they are literally gonna show you just the highlights of a player. Meaning, this player might have made one play, and that's gonna be a highlight. And what ESPN has done, is it has misinterpreted the evaluation of players. It's a misinterpretation. It misrepresent. It doesn't represent uh to me how good or how bad a player is. And if you're just showing the highlights, well, what about those other 5 to 7 plays that they actually played horrible, and they made one play out of 7, and you know what I'm saying, they made one play out of 7, and because they got a highlight on ESPN, and it was probably an amazing play, well, this player is evaluated totally different. So I think our evaluation of players is that, and I think most of it is because the NFL is a business first. It's a business first. I think a lot of times when these teams, they draft players and things like that, they're not drafting to make their teams better per se. They're drafting because the fan base likes those players. They do their evaluations on college players and how popular those players are. But in reality, for a team to be really, really good, does that player fit the scheme that you're trying to run? Does that player fit what you're trying to do on the field to whatever scheme that you got going on? That's the most important part of this shit. Does the player fit the scheme that's trying to be played? That's very important when picking up players. Just because a player is talented, he could be uber talented, but if he doesn't fit the scheme, then what's the point? It becomes really repetitive and dumb at that point. Like, why are we doing that? Like, you got to really put it in perspective. If the player doesn't fit the scheme, then why is he on the team? But because that owners, general managers, and things like that, the NFL is like the circus. You know what I'm saying? They trying to sell tickets. They're trying to sell the biggest show, on TV. It's more than just winning games. It's about selling concessions and uh uh jerseys and food and everything else. It's selling the franchise. I get it, but being a coach at a heart myself, I'm trying to win games. If that player don't fit what I'm trying to do, then I don't want him. I don't care how talented he is. He can run a 4.13 in the 40, a 55-inch vertical bench press, 225, 75 times. It doesn't matter to me. I need not on and I don't. I'm not a guy that I want dogs. I want guys who are gonna play. I want a guy that can play. I don't care about measurables. You know what I'm saying? The measurables, can he play? Can that player play? That's what needs to be understood. So I think Christian Parker is enacting that. He's trying to get players who can play in his scheme but can also play. I brought up ESPN because the only stat that I see people talking about Osa Odighizuwa is his pressures. Oh my God. I think we come up with weird stats all the time. And I think and I think it's just a way of trying to make players more marketable in a sense. This thing about pressures is one of the dumbest stats I ever heard. I, why should pressures be a stat? Because pressure is what causes players to what I guess what it would call an offense to make mistakes. But here's the thing: the things that really move the needle on defense are sacks, loss of yardage, or turnovers. That's basically it. Those sacks are going to be a loss of yardage stat, but sacks, uh, tackles for losses, or turnovers are going to be the reason why teams are not successful on defense. But to put pressure, because pressures are a part of a sack. Why are we evaluating? I mean, it's like when they were talking about that DeMarcus Lee oh my God, Michael Parsons led the league in pressures. What are we talking about? I look at pressures as almost. You almost got there. You didn't get there, but you almost got there. And I think it's a stupid stat. And so that's like one of the biggest things that they talk about with Osa is he had pressures. But for the most part, what has he really done? And here's the thing. Osa, I'm not talking about you because I felt like you was a integral part in that defense. I don't feel like that you weren't good. That's not what I'm saying. But to me, you weren't a needle mover. Meaning, like, if I had to put Quentin, Kenny Clark, and you on thread, and I had to choose who I had to get rid of out of the three, I'm sorry, bro. You gonna be the one to go. And it ain't nothing personal. It's just that I'm just looking at what's being asked and what I want out of a defense. That doesn't mean that you're not gonna go anywhere and that doesn't mean that you're not gonna go to San Francisco and flourish. That doesn't mean anything. I need production. I need consistency. That's what makes great players. Production, consistency. That is what makes great players. So for me, I'm glad that they made it. To me, I would have traded them early in the season. I would have traded them way before now. Probably would have got better a better pick selection. I'm not really concerned about the third. I would have liked to got a player for him, but since they didn't, I'm okay with that. And I don't feel like the Dallas made a mistake by doing it. I think Dallas did an amazing job by trading him and getting something for him, getting some kind of compensation. I would have really had a player, maybe a trade for a linebacker. What happened? What happened to trying to get Quentin Williams' brother as a linebacker or something like that? Like that just completely went left, and I don't know what happened with that, or maybe because the Jets are not trying to do anything. But for the most part, I'm happy with the trade. I feel like that was something that they should have done. I'm glad that they did it. I'm glad that they finally, uh, you know, where was he gonna fit in the shuffle? And they're getting rid of the players that don't really fit. So, Cowboy Nation, do not be discouraged by everything that has happened. I feel like that this defense is going to be better. I'm not going to say it's going to be top 10, but I feel like it's going to be better. It's going to take time. It's going to take time to try to shuffle through all of these things, get the players that they need, and put together what he wants. So be encouraged and not discouraged about what's happening with everything that's happening in Dallas right now. The offense is A1. We just but the Cowboys just need to be in the I'll say the top 15 or top 20 to be going to the NFC Championship or competing for a Super Bowl. They need to be between top 15 and top 20 because that offense is top notch. If they sign George Pickens, they're going to sign him, get him in the fold, get him to a long term deal, and the offense stays consistent. Uh, get some production out of our running back out of Texas. Get some production out of him. The Cowboys might have a chance if they have a top 15 to 20 defense and an offense, which I'll predict them getting better. They could actually do it. So like I said, Cowboys Nation, don't be discouraged. Uh, don't be encouraged. Don't be discouraged, but be encouraged about what's happening with this defense. And this is Nick Kennedy out.